Hideo Suzuki, a manga artist assistant, is drawing with his coworkers in an office listening to the news. A news anchor reports on an incident where a dog viciously attacked a 45-year-old woman. The authorities are puzzled because the woman began speaking incoherently following the bite. The next news segment covers a 35-year-old man who was detained for engaging in inappropriate behavior. One of the co-workers comments on the increasingly bizarre news stories. Mitani, another colleague, ridicules Suzuki and the manga artists. In defense, Suzuki highlights manga as the zenith of Japanese culture and expresses pride in being a manga artist. He inspires his teammates, leading everyone to cheer, "Manga is the best." As evening approaches, Suzuki heads back home. At his apartment, Suzuki watches TV with Teko, his girlfriend who has a passive-aggressive demeanor while sketching. He admires his manga award and reads motivational sayings like, "The Steve Jobs of the manga world," and "The road to manga is harsh." Seeking inspiration for his next project, he grabs a rifle from his closet and gazes at himself in the mirror. The next morning, everyone at the publisher's office is ill and coughing. Suzuki presents his latest manga, featuring a tough guy protecting his girlfriend with a rifle. The publisher criticizes the work, deeming the protagonist too ordinary, and urges Suzuki to improve his future projects. Shortly after, another manga artist, Sensei, approaches Suzuki. Sensei is more renowned but had previously shared the Newcomer Manga Artist Award with Suzuki 15 years ago. Later at home, Suzuki argues with Teko, who insists on selling the rifle to afford rent and wants to sell his award along with his manga books. Frustrated by Suzuki's lack of success and his unfulfilled aspirations of becoming a top manga artist, Teko ends their relationship and kicks him out of the apartment. Suzuki goes to the park with his gun and examines Sensei's comic book. Nearby, a homeless man sits trembling in agony, but Suzuki pays him no heed. The following morning, Suzuki is back at the office with his co-workers drawing and watching the news. A new report announces an infection that has already claimed 4 lives. One of Suzuki's colleagues appears pale and unwell. She exits the office, and Mitani explains that she contracted the virus from Sensei. Mitani observes that she has the same bite mark on her neck as Sensei, realizing they were involved. Their boss enters the room, also bearing a bite mark. Confused, they inquire about the deadline but fail to notice his eyes darkening. Later, while everyone is asleep at the office, Suzuki's phone rings. It's Teko, apologizing for last night and wanting to resume their relationship. As they converse on the phone, helicopters fly over the city and sirens blare, but Suzuki remains focused on Teko, oblivious to the chaos unfolding. He immediately rushes to Teko's flat, bringing her favorite snack and pleads with her to open the door. When there's no response, he tries calling her again. Suzuki peers through the letter slot and sees Teko lying on the bed. Suddenly, she moves erratically and collapses onto the floor. He watches in horror as she begins to seize and her body contorts unnaturally, resembling a demon during an exorcism. As she approaches the door, Suzuki notices her face is grotesquely distorted. Zombie Teko attacks him, biting his hand. In his attempt to escape, he accidentally stabs her in the head and flees the apartment quickly. While crossing a bridge, he spots a woman with a bleeding hand and dozens of airplanes flying through the city. Upon returning to the office, Suzuki sees Mitani standing next to the TV with his back turned. Suzuki initially thinks Mitani is a zombie too, but then notices him wielding a bloody baseball bat. Quietly entering the office, Suzuki discovers that all his co-workers are now dead zombies, with Mitani as the sole survivor. Mitani informs Suzuki that the only way to kill zombies is by destroying their brains, and that anyone bitten becomes infected. However, Mitani is bitten as well and begins to transform into a zombie. In a state of panic, he commits suicide, shouting that the era of underpaid workers has begun since all their bosses are now dead zombies. Another infected coworker arrives, prompting Suzuki to quickly leave the office. On the streets, half the population seems unaware of the chaos, while others run for their lives. Within minutes, people realize that demonic-looking zombies are among them. Some flee, while others fall victim to the hungry undead. Suzuki desperately approaches a police officer, but the policeman is a zombie and starts chasing him. As Suzuki runs, he accidentally steps on a large group of people fleeing in one direction. Cars collide, buildings burn, and people are run over by ambulances. Amid the chaos, Suzuki spots a cab driver asleep in his taxi, oblivious to the zombie apocalypse. Before entering, a high school student named Hiromi approaches him. Hiromi wants to get into the taxi as well, but a zombie on the phone attacks them. Suzuki imagines pulling out his rifle and aiming at the zombie, but instead he stands frozen, shooting with his fingers. Meanwhile, a man in a suit tries to enter the taxi. They bang on the car windows and manage to get inside, instructing the driver to head toward the countryside. On the taxi's TV, the news reports the attacks as riots, revealing that no one has answers. Switching to Tokyo TV, they watch an anime cartoon being broadcast. Suzuki believes Tokyo is safe because they're showing anime, but the channel abruptly ends the cartoon to report the attacks. The man in the suit talks on the phone, ordering someone to kill everyone, including the Prime Minister if necessary. After hanging up, he complains about the poor quality of meat and reveals a bite on his arm. His blood vessels quickly turn black as he transforms into a zombie while saying, "Hey, poor people, give me a tissue." Unaware of his transformation, the taxi driver gives him a tissue, and the new zombie bites him, complaining about poor meat quality. The driver opens the door, and Suzuki pushes the zombie out. Everyone breathes a sigh of relief when the taxi driver's veins start turning black too. He begins boasting about being an excellent taxi driver for 30 years without any accidents. Suddenly, he becomes angry and starts driving recklessly. Hiromi rushes to the back seat, but the taxi driver soon attacks them. Suzuki and Hiromi buckle their seatbelts as the car speeds uncontrollably. They crash into another vehicle and tumble out. When Suzuki regains consciousness, the car is overturned, but Hiromi is alive. Exiting the car, they see the road blocked by a massive car collision. All the cars are empty, and there's nobody on the road, so Suzuki and Hiromi sit on the sidewalk and browse the internet to understand what's happening. They learn that the virus, named ZQN, corrupts the personalities and bodies of the infected, causing severe physical changes. A theory suggests the virus will die if they climb Mount Fuji, but only if the phone's battery dies. As night falls, they find an abandoned house to sleep in. While eating the melon bread Suzuki bought for Teko, they discuss Suzuki's rifle. He tells Hiromi he didn't use it because carrying a rifle in public is illegal. He views it more as a protective charm. Hiromi reveals she also has a protection charm, her earphones. They start listening to music and she opens up saying she feels safe with him. Enjoying the story so far? Subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support powers our adventures. Don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss an update. Now, let's dive back into the adventure. The next morning, Suzuki watches Hiromi sleeping. He likes her despite her being underage, but notices a bite mark on her neck. He pulls out his rifle to protect himself. Hiromi explains that she was bitten by her neighbor's baby 2 days ago, and that ZQN can spread through breast milk, so she's likely infected. She doesn't mind Suzuki killing her since she feels she has nothing left, but Suzuki refuses, revealing he was bitten too. He takes the rifle, vowing to protect her until they reach Mount Fuji, hoping to kill the virus. They begin their perilous journey, passing through a forest where Hiromi starts feeling unwell. She asks Suzuki to leave her alone to avoid becoming his meal. As a farewell gift, she gives him her earphones and begs him to leave as she starts transforming. Suzuki runs through the forest and spots a familiar man from afar, only to realize it's another zombie. The zombie attacks Suzuki, nearly devouring his face when Hiromi arrives unexpectedly, killing the zombie and saving him. With a half-demonic, half-human face, she dismembers the zombie without harming Suzuki. Instead, she helps him up. They find themselves near a trailer park, and Suzuki searches for canned food. Hiromi, now half-zombie, remains silent, showing no signs of aggression towards Suzuki. They continue their journey to Mount Fuji together. A few days pass, and Suzuki, sporting a full beard, carries Hiromi on his back when he discovers a shopping cart on the forest road. Although he finds no food, he places Hiromi in the cart and heads toward Fuji Outlet Park. Upon arrival, the entire outlet is deserted. Inside one of the stores, Suzuki tries on jackets but is attacked by a zombie store manager. Hiromi is asleep and can't help, but another masked woman, Tsugumi Oda, kills the zombie with an axe. Tsugumi notices the sleeping Hiromi as more masked individuals arrive, questioning the two newcomers. Zombies begin to appear, prompting everyone to run to a safe spot. The uninfected survivors establish a safe zone on the outlet's rooftop. Suzuki is invited to join and brings Hiromi without revealing she's half zombie. The safe zone is well stocked with food, tents, books, and even Rolex watches. Tsugumi is curious about Suzuki's rifle, but he claims he's just a manga artist. She asks if Quiet Hiromi is his sister, and he explains they met while escaping zombies. Tsugumi admires Suzuki, believing he's a good person. She also mentions that those infected with ZQN are stuck in the past. The next morning, Hiromi observes Suzuki, who wonders if she understands him. She smiles and Suzuki recites a poem to her, noticing she's improving. Later, Suzuki watches zombies and sees one jumping high and hitting his head on the ground. An old man named Abe explains that the zombies mimic their past behaviors, and that each zombie is different. Suzuki asks about zombies made of charcoal, but Abe avoids answering. It seems something unsettling happened in the safe zone that no one wants to discuss. Later, Suzuki attends a meeting with other survivors. They plan to access the underground food storage and asks Suzuki to lend them his rifle. Suzuki refuses, citing the law, but the leader, Yura, claims there are no laws in the safe zone. Yura threatens to kill Hiromi if Suzuki doesn't hand over the rifle. Meanwhile, some survivors attempt to seize Hiromi, but Tsugumi intervenes. Suzuki suspects foul play, leaves the meeting abruptly and finds Hiromi captured. He threatens to shoot Yura with the rifle if they don't release her. The leader points a gun at Hiromi, who stands silently. No one suspects she can kill instantly. Unable to bear it, she forcefully throws the two men off her and reveals that she is a ZQN. Her eye, unlike other zombies, shows rainbow colors. Ignoring her, the leader shoots her in the head and Hiromi falls to the floor. The group seizes Suzuki's rifle while he mourns her death. They begin attacking Suzuki, who pleads for forgiveness. The situation escalates as they argue over who will kill him, with humans also showing violent tendencies. A fight breaks out among the group, and Yura is overthrown by someone else. They spare Suzuki and he finds Tsugumi in front of Hiromi's tent. With Abe's help, she had hidden Hiromi, who is still alive. Tsugumi explains that Hiromi is different from other ZQNs because she still has a pulse. She also reveals that she ran away from her duties and abandoned her patients in the hospital, commending Suzuki for saving Hiromi. Suzuki remains sorrowful, feeling like a coward for not protecting his friends and losing his gun. He believes he's a loser, but Tsugumi reassures him that he's a good person. Apologizing for his perceived shortcomings, he asks Tsugumi to take care of Hiromi as he heads to the food storage with the others. Later, some survivors distract the zombies by banging on pans, drawing their attention to the roof, while the rest head underground to the food storage from another part of the building. Upon reaching the underground storage, everything is dark. One of the survivors accidentally makes noise, alerting the zombies. As they walk, someone turns on the lights, but no one questions it. They quickly locate the food storage, unaware that someone is watching them through the security cameras. While packing food, the mysterious observer plays music in the outlet, attracting a zombie that attacks one of the survivors in search of a snack. They shoot both the victim and the zombie, but discover the parking area is filled with more zombies. Suzuki runs last, apologizing to one of the people being attacked. Due to poor tactics and the survivors' selfishness, most are eaten and killed in the parking lot. The mastermind behind this chaos is Yura, who intentionally played music to lure zombies and execute his plan to seize the only car in the parking area. In the ensuing chaos, Suzuki hides in a storage locker. Meanwhile, the high-jumping zombie stalks the roof, preparing for a massive leap. He runs swiftly and leaps onto a tent. A survivor notices the zombie staring at her and freezes. The zombie devours her and then attacks another woman, crushing her head with his bare hands. Yura watches the security tapes and enters a passkey, allowing more zombies to enter the facility. Suzuki remains hidden until he hears Tsugumi's voice on the walkie-talkie, desperately seeking help for Hiromi. He hears no response as everyone else is either hiding or being eaten. Suzuki, still hiding in the locker, contemplates various escape scenarios, all of which end in his demise. Overwhelmed by fear and imagination, he decides to stay in the locker, but hears Tsugumi crying on the walkie-talkie, reminding him of Hiromi. Determined to overcome his fear, Suzuki starts yelling and exits the locker. A zombie attacks him, biting his arm. Fortunately, he's wearing 10 Rolex watches on his wrist, preventing the zombie from infecting him. Suzuki grabs the walkie-talkie and tells Tsugumi he's on his way. They decide to meet at the parking lot and take one of the cars. As Suzuki battles zombies with clever tactics, such as spreading rice on the floor to make zombies slip, Tsugumi carries Hiromi towards the parking lot. Upon arrival, Suzuki encounters Yura, who attempts to seduce her and abandon Suzuki. However, Yura is bitten and transforms into a zombie. Tsugumi runs with Hiromi on her back, but Suzuki arrives just in time to save them. He finds the rifle and shoots Yura's brain. Soon after, a large group of zombies chases them. The survivors are surrounded, but Hiromi begins to speak for the first time, telling Suzuki she feels okay when she's with him. Motivated, Suzuki starts shooting as many zombies as he can. In the end, only Suzuki, Hiromi, and Tsugumi survive. They manage to kill all the zombies except for an athletic zombie who jumps onto the roof. With only one bullet left, Suzuki shoots the zombie in the head. Since the zombie's head is already crushed, the bullet has no effect, and the zombie moves towards Tsugumi and Hiromi. Undeterred, Suzuki uses the rifle like a bat and finally destroys the zombie's brain for good. The three leave the outlet, surrounded by a river of dead zombies. In the car, Tsugumi lights a cigarette and turns on music while Suzuki wonders if he'll turn into a zombie himself. After all the chaos, he still doesn't see himself as a hero.